Hello everyone and welcome back to Building Nations. In the last episode we worked a lot on the exterior detail of the castle, as you can see by this little flyby, and we didn't finish quite all of it. There's still the back half king section area that has not been completed yet, and we're not going to be doing that in this episode because I've gotten a little tired of it. And I just don't really feel like doing the sort of intricate level detail work that I need to do right now to finish out this section of building. So, what we're going to do instead is figure out how the surrounding city is going to be laid out. And I kind of already have a rough general plan in mind. I'm going to make some docks over here. Yeah, that's right, over here. The castle is barely in render distance. So there's going to be city all the way to here. It will be quite large. I don't know if I can make it a city the whole way. I mean, I guess that's the goal, but we'll try. The plan is to make a wall that comes like this, and it'll go around this little thing. Probably terraform this a bit so it's not as extreme of a bend there. Go around the coast here, all the way around to docks there, then it will come from like here, up the side of this little hill, then down and around a bit, all the way to here, this coast, up this little hill, down this thing, and then back up to here, where it will connect with this little section here. And that makes me happy. Because, if you remember when we made this, I wanted to change this wall up so that it looked better. So I made it this little under thing, but then it just connected into this building, which you could just access through the wall, so it didn't make sense. But, if we make this connect to a wall that's going down here, this will make a lot more sense as to why it's here, and it will be better overall. So that's my sort of general plan. I'm not sure how the rest of it's going to go, but I'll figure that out as I go along. Okay, so, building the walls of this thing, decided to go with red for my wall and tower colors, just because I like it, think it's a cool color. I wanted to do more straight walls. If you remember way back in the Xantod days, all of those walls are curved. And while they look good, it made it hard to detail them because each section was kind of unique in like its shape. So I think that making them straighter will allow me to have more consistent detailing on them, and they'll just look better overall. And also doing it straighter means I can put more towers in the sides, which kind of makes sense, instead of just having them at gate entrances. And speaking of gate entrances, I laid those out a lot better too, to where there is like clear indication of where a gate is. You can see there next to the river I have a tower and then 9 blocks and then another tower base. And that will be a gate every time. So that's how that's going to go. And then the towers here, just kind of experimenting with different line shapes. Sometimes I did like straight 2s or 3s. Sometimes it was alternating 2 and 1, because I never wanted to do just straight 1 across, like diagonal, because that would make it kind of difficult to work with. So I did 2 and 1, because I think that makes a bit more sense. Yeah, so it was an interesting process doing this, trying to work out how all the lines and stuff would shape up, where the gates were going to go and all that stuff, and I think it ended up working out pretty well. So, that's a good thing. So, after making all of these walls, I had to decide where I wanted to put the roads. Because there are roads that go in the city. So having had to figure out where those were going to go. And obviously they come in through the gates. So that was decided. And then the first thing, there is this hill. What I decided to do is make a road that goes up the hill and a road that goes down and around the hill. and those can kind of separate off different districts within the city. So we might have like a residential district on top of the hill and like a shopping area at the bottom or something like that. That's probably not how it's going to go, but it'll be something similar. So I decided to make a retention wall type thing for the top of the hill so that it made more sense from the bottom and I didn't have to terraform as much. And I kind of modeled that out with that red walls as well. I also do have World Edit. I did a lot of the terraforming early on by hand because I just kind of forgot that I had World Edit, but once I remembered, I started using it a bit more. So the wall is coming, retention wall is coming along, kind of outlining in a very rough and general shape as to how everything's going to go. None of this is like super solid, like as you can see the roads are, you know, like very loose collections of blocks. They're not like solid lines or anything. These are just kind of like me laying out my ideas. So you'll also notice that in a lot of places I have like a central road and then like smaller roads that branch off toward the walls. So the central roads are like, you know, main roads, and then those smaller branching roads are going to be kind of like alleyways. So there will be buildings covering the space pretty much between all the roads and the walls. So I wanted to make alleyways just so I could fit more buildings in without it getting too crowded too quickly. Another thing I had to do a lot of was fix the terrain. You can see there were a lot of like random ponds and other things like that that Minecraft decides would be a good idea. Spoiler alert, they're not a good idea. So I went around and filled all those in for the most part, just because they don't look good. If they were bigger and fewer, they would be so much better, but they're not. They're too small to do anything with, and there's just so many of them. I don't know. Anyway, I wanted to make internal walls as well. You can see the retention wall divided the upper and lower half into districts, and internal walls should do the same for the city as a whole. So in the top there you can see I sectioned off that little area. I'm going to use that as kind of like a soldier's training ground thing. Like, I don't know, the guards can learn how to shoot straight or do something else. So, figuring out how the walls within the city were going to go was definitely more difficult than doing the walls on the outside. I had to figure out like what a good size would be, and then like where the gates inside the city were going to go to make everything work out and make sense. And I think I did that kind of well. It'll be interesting trying to, like, when I actually start building and putting in house plans, because that's going to happen also. When I start putting those in, I'm curious to see whether or not I'll feel a need to adjust where the walls themselves are. So, you can see where I am now. I was figuring out if I wanted to make 2 gates into, like, leaving that area, and I decided against it. So I made that one kind of, like, wall just to kind of cut that section off. And I didn't really like that. Like, the wall is very long, and it just didn't really make sense to me to have it there, overall, with the rest of the thing. So you can see eventually that gets changed. I know, changing plans? Wow, unbelievable. So, up there, just doing some more minor terraforming. This hill kind of took a while also. I could have probably just used, like, some World Edit spheres and then smoothed it, but I decided to, like, build each level. Yeah, I'm not sure how this hill is gonna work again, but, like, I don't know, I'll figure it out when I get there. A lot of this is just gonna be figured out as you go along. Like, that's just how I am, I guess, with building things. I don't put a whole lot of time into the super nitty-gritty, but, like, I do still plan, you know. Definitely planning, very important. Planning out where roads are going to go to where houses can exist is amazing. Okay, so building more walls, I decided that I wanted each sort of section to have like 3 entrances or so. So like 3 entrances within the city. So that's what I did for this one. You can clearly see that there are 3 gates within it that all, you can get in. Well, 3 gates within the city and then 1 gate toward the outside, which is also good. You can see doing the same sort of pattern. You can see there are places where my roads kind of like meet each other, even though they're like through a wall. That wasn't intentional, but it's just kind of funny how it just kind of worked out that way to where that works. At the docks, I don't know what specifically I'm going to do with them, so I didn't really like make anything there yet. But I did, plan out those 3 main road sections. So that's cool. In the ocean, there's these 2 giant islands, and I like the one on the right. I think it's kind of like cool. So you can see in the frame and toward the bottom on the right side is the little red tower. So since that's where the other like side of the docks is going to be, I feel like the island there doesn't cause too much of an issue. But this bigger island definitely did. It did not look great for the rest of the area. So here I'm just kind of smoothing it out a bit, getting rid of a lot of the stone and bringing it down to a level where I can make the ocean even. The terraforming is very messy and not good, and then I didn't replace the blocks at the bottom with like the standard riverbed that I normally use, which is like sand, endstone, birch planks, and soul sand. I didn't do that. Actually, I don't know if soul sand would work anymore because it would make bubble golems. Normally I'd do soul sand, but I probably won't anymore. And then I spent a large amount of time filling in water. Probably too much time if you ask me. Like, I was trying to do it to where all of it would be source blocks instead of like doing a layer at the top and making it flow down. Even though, what I did worked, but it did take a while. Like, I don't know, the time lapse speeds things up obviously, but this whole like terraforming and filling in water process took like 30 minutes. Which, I mean, by survival standards, that's no time at all, but by creative standards, it's quite a bit. So, if there's a world edit command that you can use to, like, fill water in more evenly, well, I'm thinking, like, replace air water probably would have done it a bit better than using brush spheres to kind of fill it in. Eventually, I got tired of it, so I just kind of went from corner to corner and just set the top layer to water. So if there were any inconsistencies in that, they were smoothed out by that. And like the uneven flowing of the water was also sort of settled because of me just setting it. And that saved me a lot of time and effort. And I'm glad I did it in the end because it took me a lot to get there though, but definitely helped me by the time I got to the end. And you can see that soon, I hope. Soon. Please? Yeah. Alright, after that long process, I have now cleared this out. It's now water for the docks to be able to exist here. And we have laid out all of the walls and roads that are going to be going here. And this will be pretty cool. This will definitely be the biggest city I've made by a lot. So, having it like all laid out like this is just kind of cool to see. Just for reference, we can go take a look at some of the other things that I've made. It's not too far, just a short little gallivant through the swamp and the birch forest and the dark oak, but we should soon hit here. This is the dwarven city we were working on earlier in the season. And if I could, there we go. Unfinished, but like, in terms of the size, right? This is it. This is how big it is. Like, this is the whole thing. There's nothing outside of it. Like, it all fits in a single shot pretty comfortably. Like, it's not complicated. You can go and look at some of the other cities and stuff here. Just briefly. It's not really a whole world tour or anything, but like, again, it's a smaller fishing village. Like it fits entirely in render distance. And then even the biggest one that I've done so far, which is a short little thing over here, this is the whole city. Like, it fits on this whole island, and I can see the whole thing just from up here. So, like, the one that we're gonna build is probably like 3 or 4 times larger than this. And this took a while. So it's just kind of gonna be interesting to see. I do have a lot more ideas onto like as to like shops and stuff and making things look cooler. Cause I mean in this city, none of these buildings have interiors. They're all just open. I had some plans for like making shops and whatnot, but I just never really executed them. And I should say some of the buildings do have interiors, but like a majority of the houses and stuff are just completely open. But like this building has an inside. So yeah, it'll be interesting just to try and get all this stuff to work out the way that I want it to, because it's on such a larger scale. But it will be fun all the same. And with that, I'm going to leave this here. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Leave any feedback you have for me, and I'll see all of you later. Bye.